Very good morning, students. Today we are going to see the second unit. In this we are going to study about fluid kinematics. In the previous unit we saw about fluid statics. What is fluid statics? It is a branch of science that deals with the behavior of the fluid in rest. Okay, so we are going to study the behavior of the fluid when the fluid was at rest. But what is fluid kinematics? It is a branch of science that deals with the movement of the particles without considering the forces that causing the motion. That means we are going to study only the geometry of the movement. We are not going to consider the forces that causes the movement. Suppose if we study the forces that causes the movement, then that branch of study is said to be kinetics. Okay, so kinematics is a branch of study where we are going to find out the movement of the particles only with respect to space and time. So there are three aspects of kinematics of fluid. Why we want to study this kinematics of fluid is first to develop a method or a technique to describe and specify the movement of the fluids, because the fluid it's not like a solid, because in the fluid we have different fluid particles, and we have to find out how the movement of this fluid particle takes place. Okay, for finding out this we have to have some methods and techniques. That's why it's a very important aspect of kinematics of fluid to know this movement of this fluids. And similarly, if we have this different types of particles, we should know how this particles will get deformed. Okay, and what rate it is get deformed, and what is the characterization of the different types of movement that is caused by any fluid element also has to be found out. And similarly, we have to find out at what conditions this kinematic possibility of fluid movement, that is the movement of the fluid, takes place. So that things also has to be get learned up. Okay, so these are the three main aspects of kinematics of fluid. Now we will see them. What are the different methods of describing the fluid motion? Normally the fluid movement can be described by two different methods. One is Lagrangian method and other one is Eulerian method. So in case of Lagrangian method, a single fluid particle is followed during its motion and its velocity, acceleration, density, etc. are described. That means we are going to follow a single fluid particle throughout its movement. Okay, and we are going to find out its properties. But it's not like that in Eulerian method. In case of Eulerian method, in a particular point in the flow field, we are going to find out the properties of the fluid element like velocity, acceleration, density, etc. So from this you could understand that this Eulerian method is more practical one, and therefore we are following only this Eulerian method, because in a running stream or in a running channel we cannot follow a single particle throughout its movement. Okay, it is not possible. So at a particular point in the flow field we are going to find out the characteristics of the fluid like velocity, acceleration, density, etc. But it is not with respect to the fluid element. Okay, we are going to find out what is the properties at a particular point in the fluid element. Okay, so that is why that is a Eulerian method is more preferable, and we also follow the Eulerian method. So before going into this deeply, we will see what are the different types of fluid flow we have. Normally, these are the different types of fluid flow. One is steady and unsteady flow, uniform and non-uniform flows, laminar and turbulent flows, compressible and incompressible flows, rotational and irrotational flows, 1, 2 and 3 dimensional flows. So now we will see this one by one in detail. Steady and unsteady flow. From the name itself you could be able to say that if the type of the flow in which the fluid characteristics like velocity, pressure, density, etc. at a point they do not change with the time, then that is said to be steady flow. That is, what is that it means is we have different fluid properties like velocity, pressure or density, and we have the three different directions like x, y and z directions. Okay, in all these directions, that is, and with respect to the time, if this fluid particles, if this fluid characteristics, it doesn't make any change with respect to time, that is your velocity, density as well as pressure, it's not varying with respect to time, then such flow is said to be a steady flow. Then what is unsteady flow? It is obviously the opposite. Okay, so if this fluid characteristics changes with respect to time, then it is said to be the unsteady flow. So this is the equation for that. So dou v by dou t in x, y and z direction, it changes with respect to time, or we can say it is not equal to 0. Similarly, dou p by dou t with respect to x, y and z direction is not equal to 0, and dou rho by dou t with respect to x, y and z direction is not equal to 0. Okay, in case of steady flow, it was equal to 0, that means it is not changing with the time. But in case of unsteady flow, the equation is same, but here it is not equal, that means it changes with respect to time. What is uniform flow? So it is a type of flow in which the velocity at any given time does not change with respect to space, that is the length of direction of the flow. What do you mean by velocity? Velocity is change in distance by time taken for the change. Okay, so change in distance is given by meter and time taken is given by seconds. So here what we are doing is, we are not going to consider the time, we are going to keep this time as a constant. So what is this velocity? It directly depends upon the change in the length, or we can say in terms of space. Okay, so here what we are going to do is, in case of uniform flow, if this velocity does not change with respect to the space, then it is said to be a uniform flow. For a very good example for this is, you have a long pipe with constant diameter. See, the diameter is constant throughout its length. So in this case, the velocity of the fluid particles, okay, the velocity of the fluid will not change with respect to the length of the thing, though the time we are going to keep it constant only. So with respect to the space, the velocity is not going to get changed. Okay, so such flow is said to be a uniform flow. That's why it's given the equation dou v by dou s with respect to t equal to 0, where t is a constant. So we are keeping it as a constant. That means the velocity with respect to space is not changing with, it's not changes with respect to the space. Okay, that's why it's given as dou v by dou s is equal to 0. So what is non-uniform flow? It is the reverse of this, in which the type of flow in which the velocity at any given time changes with respect to space. Since it is changes, we are not giving is equal to 0. Instead, we are giving not equal to 0. Okay, the equation is same, dou v by dou s with respect to time is not equal to 0. That means not equal means, what does it means? It means it is able to change with respect to space. That is, velocity is able to change with respect to the space. Now the other classification of this fluid flow is laminar flow. So what is laminar flow? From the diagram you will be able to understand that in case of a tube, here you could see the fluid particles, they move in a straight line. Okay, so they are almost parallel in the flow. Okay, so such flow is said to be a laminar flow, or we used to say that is a streamline flow or viscous flow. Okay, so here what happens is, there is a smooth flow of one layer of fluid over the another layer of the fluid, and this type of flow will be occurs in the viscous fluids where viscosity influences will be very less. Okay, so in that case only we can go for this, or we can say this laminar flow will be predominantly happening in the small pipes. Okay, where there is a low flow velocities. In that case we can have this laminar flow. Okay, when the velocity is low, automatically it will be having a uniform flow. Okay, it has a uniform movement, or we can say it moves in a straight line. Okay, so such thing is called, such type of flow is called as laminar flow. Next is your turbulent flow. So what is turbulent flow? Instead of moving in a straight line, here the fluid particles move in a zigzag manner. Okay, why? Because this is because of several reasons. Okay, and this type of fluid flow is said to be a turbulent flow. Okay, so normally it may be because of the velocity that changes the direction and magnitude of this fluid particle from point to point. Because of this, what happens is eddy currents will be developed, and this eddy currents will be resulting in the energy loss. Okay, and where do we normally see this turbulent flow happens is it is in case of longer pipes with high flow rate. So when the force is more, when the velocity is more, automatically there are chances of turbulence in the flow. Okay, so this is your turbulent flow. Now next comes your transitional flow. So what is transitional flow? In between these two, that is in between your laminar flow as well as your turbulent flow, if the fluid particles moves, then it is said to be your turbulent transitional flow. So what is happening in transitional flow? So in case of transitional flow, the initial stage, that is the starting of the pipe, will be having your, what is that, laminar flow, while at the center of the pipe we will be having the turbulent flow. Okay, so this is your transitional flow where the turbulence will be there in the center of the pipe and the laminar flow will be near the edges. Laminar flow in sense there will not be any much movement of the particles or much turbulent of the particles, so the particles will be moving in a straight line near the edges, whereas in case of your center of the pipe the particle moves with the turbulence. Okay, so such flow is said to be your transitional flow. So turbulent flow or laminar flow, it can be determined by a dimensionless number that is called as Reynolds number. So we will see now what is this Reynolds number. Renault, he has characterized this dimensionless number. He has given this dimensionless number where it is said to be Reynolds number. It is denoted by the symbol Re. So Re is equal to Vd by nu. So normally how do we say this? It is said to be nu. Okay, though it is given here like this, the pronunciation is nu here. So Vd by nu, and this is your nu. So already we know that in properties of fluid, nu is equal to mu by rho, where nu is your kinematic viscosity and mu is a dynamic viscosity, and that is your rho is your density of the fluids and d is your diameter of the pipes. Okay, so here we are going to just substitute here, instead of nu we are going to substitute that mu by rho. Okay, so when you substitute this, your Reynolds equation will be rho Vd by mu. Okay, why this rho Vd by nu? Here we have it up means this term because rho is always constant. Okay, this densities of the fluid is known. So the diameter of the pipe is known if you know the diameter of the pipe, and if you know any either kinematic viscosity or dynamic viscosity of the fluid, we will be able to find out easily the Reynolds number. So in case of how do we determine this, whether this Reynolds number, based on this Reynolds number, whether it is laminar flow or turbulent flow or transitional flow. Suppose if the Reynolds number is less than 2000, then such flows are said to be your laminar flows. And if the Reynolds number is between 2000 to 4000, then such flows are said to be your transitional flow. Okay, and if the Reynolds number is more than 4000, then such flows are said to be your turbulent flows. So from just by finding out the Reynolds number, we will be able to find out what is the type of the flow we have here. Okay, so as we already see, what is laminar flow? That is the flow along the parallel paths. But whereas a turbulent flow, it is flow in a random manner and it is not in layers. Okay, it is in a it moves in a zigzag manner. So in case of a laminar flow, the shear stress is directly proportional to the velocity gradient. That is, we usually say that it is a Newtonian fluid. Okay, Newtonian, what is a Newtonian? Newtonian fluid is one where the shear stress is directly proportional to the rate of shear strain, or we can say it is a velocity gradient. Okay, and here the disturbances will be there, but it will be damped by the viscous action of the fluid. So in case of turbulent flow, as we said, the fluid particles moves in a zigzag manner and it will not be in a particular layer. And here the length scale will be more than that of the molecular scale in laminar flow, because here as with the increase in the length, the turbulence will also be get increased. Okay, and there is a rapid continuous mixing is also possible if there is much velocity is there, and inertia force and viscous force also contributes to this turbulence, and these forces are very important in case of turbulent flow. So next type of flow is your compressible flow and incompressible flow. So what is compressible flow? It is a type of flow in which the density remains constant. Say in case of compressible flows, density is constant, whereas in case of incompressible flow, the density is not constant. And next category of flow is rotational and irrotational flow. From the name itself, we could be able to say If the fluid particles, when they are flowing along the streamlines, if they are able to rotate about their own axis, then it is rotational flow. If they are not able to rotate about their own axis, then it is said to be a irrotational flow. Next one is your ideal fluid. So ideal fluid is, what is that? Is a fluid which does not have viscosity and which does not have surface tension. At the same time, it is incompressible. So such fluids are said to be ideal fluids, but practically speaking, such fluids are not exist. Okay, this is an imaginary fluid, and only we do it, we consider this as imaginary flow for mathematical relations, for deriving out the equations. Okay, for those conditions only we consider this ideal fluid, that is a fluid which does not have any viscosity and they are incompressible. Okay, such fluids are said to be ideal fluids. Therefore, such fluids will not offer any shear resistance. But practically this is not possible. So the fluid which possesses viscosity, okay, and which is incompressible also, or certain to a certain level it is compressible, such fluids are said to be real fluids. Okay, so this fluids will they always offer shear resistance, and this are the practical fluids what we see in the sewer line or natural streams, or you can say in the artificial channels. All those the areas what we see is only the real fluid or practical fluid, but ideal fluid is just an imaginary one and it does not exist here. So this picture clearly shows you the ideal fluid versus real fluid. So in ideal fluid, the friction is zero. Friction is zero in sense there is no stress at all. But that is not possible because when the fluid moves between the two surfaces, definitely it creates some friction. Okay, some friction will be there. So that is why this diagram you could see that difference. Okay, so here because of the friction, the changes will be there. So that is your real fluid. And in the case of ideal fluid, the viscosity is equal to 0, but no fluid that exists without viscosity is 0. So in real fluid, always any fluid will have some viscosity. So mu is not equal to 0. And in case of ideal fluid, energy loss is assumed to be 0. But in real fluid, the energy loss is not 0 because there will be definitely energy loss when the fluid is moving in a particular stream. So this is the other difference between the ideal and versus real fluid flow. In case of ideal fluid flow, as we already said, it has zero viscosity, but in real fluid, the viscosity will exist. And ideal fluid is incompressible, but real fluid can be compressible. And ideal fluid has infinite bulk modulus, where real fluid has finite bulk modulus. What is this bulk modulus? Bulk modulus, as we already seen in the previous chapter about this bulk modulus, is one of the properties of the fluid, where it is the ratio of volumetric stress by volumetric strain. Now, okay, or here we used to say it is compressive stress by compressive strain. So in case of ideal fluid, this bulk modulus is infinite, while in case of real fluid, this bulk modulus is finite. And in case of ideal fluid, there doesn't exist any surface tension, but real fluid there will be surface tension exists. What is meant by surface tension? So this property also we have seen in the previous chapter. What is surface tension? That is the surface of the fluid layer. It will behave like a membrane with tension. Okay, so that it will be having, or it will attract the molecules of the forces downwards. Okay, so this behavior of this surface as tension, that is said to be a surface tension. So here in case of your ideal fluid, there is no surface tension exists, but practically there is surface tension exists in any real fluid. And ideal fluid, as I already said, it is imaginary and it doesn't exist in nature, while the real fluid exists in nature. Next class types of flow is one-dimensional flow. From the name itself, you could say that if there is having only one dimension, then it is said to be a one-dimensional flow. So what is one dimension? Here the velocity, we have the different flow parameters like velocity, okay, pressure, density, etc. But here we are going to consider only the flow parameters, that is your velocity. So in case of your flow parameters like velocity, if it is a function of time, and if it is one the function of one space coordinate, that is only with respect to x direction, then it is said to be a one dimensional flow. That is, the velocity u is a function of only with respect to time and with respect to the x direction. Okay, so then it is said to be a one dimensional flow, while the velocity in the y and z directions are considered to be 0. Okay, so here we could see that the expression u equal to f of x, while whereas v is equal to 0 and w is equal to 0, where u, v, w are the velocity components in x, y and z directions respectively. So what is this one dimensional flow? As I already said, it is expressed as a function of time and one space coordinate only. That is, one space means with respect to one length, that is some with respect to x direction only we are taking into account. Okay, so the single space coordinate is usually the distance measured along the central line in which the fluid is flowing. Okay, we need not be straight one, but it is a central line in which the fluid is flowing. Suppose if it is a pipeline also, only we are going to find out the flow with respect to that of the central line. Okay, for example, the flow in a pipe, okay, will be considered that the variation of the pressure and velocity will be occurring throughout the length of the pipe. Okay, but the variation along the cross section is assumed to be negligible. That is, see, this is your pipe. In this pipe, the fluid is going to flow here. Am I right? So the variation will be occurring in the terms of pressure and velocity throughout this fluid flow or through the central line. Okay, but when we go to this boundaries, okay, at this corners or at this edges, or at the cross section, it is assumed to be negligible. Okay, so such type of flow is said to be a one dimensional flow. Okay, so but in reality we can say that flow cannot be one dimensional, because viscosity occurs in the fluid and it will be causes the velocity to decrease to 0 at the solid boundaries. Okay, so that variation of the velocity will not be, okay, it will not be same, okay, throughout that. And if however what we can do, this is this what we are finding out with the one dimensional analysis, that actual flow, it is more or less equal to that of the actual flow. That why we follow this one dimensional analysis also. Okay, so the average values of the flow parameters at any given section, they are assumed to be applied to the entire flow at the section. Okay, that is the main case of the one dimensional flow, where the flow parameters, okay, they are expressed as a function of time and space. That is one space coordinate only. We are not finding out in terms of other spaces like y direction as well as in z direction. We are going to move it in a only in a central line, that is the x direction. So what is two-dimensional flow? Two-dimensional flow is a flow in which the velocity is a function of time and two space coordinates. So here we are going to consider both x coordinate as well as y coordinate. So what does the equation becomes? U is a function of x and y, and similarly v is a function of x and y, where w will be equal to 0 because it is a z direction. So the velocity component in z direction is assumed to be 0. So two-dimensional flow, it is a function of time and two space coordinates. Here no variation in z direction is occurs. Okay, so where does we have this two-dimensional flow? For any plane surface, because plane surfaces are normally two-dimensional. Okay, so in that we will be having considering the z direction as constant. Okay, so such flow is said to be a two-dimensional flow. And next one is your three-dimensional flow. So what is three-dimensional flow? So one-dimensional flow is with respect to only one direction. Two-dimensional flow is with respect to two directions. And three-dimensional flow, the velocity is a function of time and three perpendicular directions. That's why here we have the equation u is equal to f of x y, that is f1 of x comma y comma z, and v is equal to f2 of x comma y comma z, and w is equal to f3 of x comma y comma z, where u, v, w are the velocity components in x, y and z directions respectively. Okay, so all these hydrodynamic properties or they are the functions of three space coordinates and time. Okay, that is the usual thing what happens on the natural streams or the artificial channels. Okay, so next is your rate of flow or discharge. What is this? What do you mean by discharge? So it is a quantity of the flowing fluid that is flowing per unit of time. Okay, so that is called as rate of discharge. So here normally we can say here it is expressed, this rate of fluid can be expressed as the weight of fluid that is flowing per second across a section, or it can be expressed as a mass of the fluid flowing across a section per second, or the volume of the fluid. Okay, and accordingly the units are given. If it is a weight, it will be in kg of per second. If it is a mass, it is Newton per second. If it is expressed in terms of volume of the fluid, then it is either, it can be said, cubic meter per second or liters per second. But normally what we say is in case of this quantity of fluid flow, that is your discharge, it is given by meter cube by seconds. Okay, so meter cube by second, where meter cube is the quantity, or we can say volume, and second is the time taken. Okay, so that is what it's said to be, cubic meter per second. So in case of incompressible flow, the rate of flow is usually expressed as the volume of the fluid flowing across a section per second. Okay, so here normally in case of incompressible flow, we are giving it directly to that of the volume of the fluid that is flowing across a section per second. But in case of compressible flow, the rate of flow is given as the weight of the fluid flowing across a section, that is Q is equal to A into V, where A is the cross-sectional area and V is the average velocity. So why in case of incompressible fluid we are giving in terms of volume of the fluid? Because we know that in case of incompressible fluid, it is constant with respect to density. Okay, so here we are not considering the weight, instead we are going to consider the volume. Why? Because what is density? Density is equal to mass by volume. Okay, so here we are not going to consider about the since the density is constant, here we are going to consider only the volume of the fluid. But in case of compressible fluid, we are going to find out the weight of the fluid also. Okay, so that is the difference between this. So Q is equal to A into V. Now we are going to see a very important derivation, that is your continuity equation. So we have actually, the fluid has three main principles. One is your principle of conservation of mass, and other one is principle of conservation of energy, and third one is principle of conservation of momentum. So here this continuity equation is based upon the principle of conservation of mass. Okay, so what is this? It shows that is what is the law of conservation of mass is, so the rate of flow of the rate of change in the flow rate that will be equal to the quantity of the fluid that is flowing, okay, at the cross section. See, for example, here we could say, here we have a pipe with two different cross sections. One is with the initial cross section of that is of area is A1, and the other one is area with A2, and here we have the velocity is V1 at cross section 1 and velocity as V2 at sections 2, and the density at section 1 is found to be rho 1, and density at section 2 is found to be rho 2. So what is the mass flow rate at inlet? So what is mass flow rate? It is rho into A into V1. Okay, what is that rho? Rho is your density and A is your area of this, and V is the velocity. Normally we used to say rho into volume. Okay, so since here velocity with respect to time we are taking it as constant is rho 1, A1, V1 we are taking it up. Okay, and similarly what is the mass flow at rate at outlet 2, it is rho 2, A2 and V2. So according to law of conservation of mass, rho 1 A1 is equal to rho 2 A2 V2. That is what is the amount of fluid, or what is the quantity of the fluid that we entering, that is equal to the mass of the mass flow rate of the fluid that is at the outlet. Okay, so in case of incompressible fluids, that is I already said, in case of incompressible fluids, okay, where the density is not constant, we can have it as rho 1 and rho 2. Okay, but in case of in case of compressible fluids we have rho 1 and rho 2, but in case of incompressible fluids the rho is a constant, So we are neglecting this row and the equation becomes A1 V1 equal to A2 V2. So this equation is said to be your continuity equation. Suppose if it is a compressible fluid, in that case the continuity equation will be rho 1 A1 V1 equal to rho 2 A2 V2. But in case of incompressible fluid where this rho is a constant, then the equation will be A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. Now we are going to see the next derivation with respect to three dimensions, that is continuity equation with respect to three dimensions. See, suppose here you consider here this is your fluid element, and this fluid element, let rho is the density of the fluid and u, v, w are the velocity components. Okay, so what is the mass of fluid entering the phase A, B, C, D per second? So where is this phase here? This is your ABCD. So in case of ABCD, what is the mass of fluid that is entering here? So here the mass of fluid that is entering in the phase ABCD is rho into velocity into area of ABCD. Okay, rho is, velocity in case of your x direction is, what is that? It is u. Okay, velocity in case of x direction is u. So rho into u into area of ABCD. So what is the area of ABCD here? This is with respect to y and z direction. Okay, so this is your y direction and this is your z direction. So here the area will be length into breadth. Okay, so length into breadth is y with respect to z. So that's why we are giving it as dy into dz. So what is the mass of fluid entering is density into volume. So density into volume is given in terms of velocity in x direction into area. Okay, so velocity in x direction is u and area is dy into dz. Similarly, what is the mass of fluid that leaves this outlet? So this is your inlet where the mass of the fluid enters or the fluid element enters and it passes like this and it travels and it exists in the outlet. So at the mass flow rate at the inlet, we could find out what is the mass of the fluid entering, that is rho u into dy by dz. And during its movement, okay, it undergoes certain changes. Okay, so therefore the mass of fluid that is leaving the phase EFGH will be rho into u into dy by dz, that is your inlet mass plus some changes in that with respect to x direction, that is dou by dou x of rho u dy dz with respect to x direction. Why we are considering only x direction here? Normally the mass of fluid we are entering this phase, we are considering only the x direction. Okay, so what is the gain of mass in x direction? We have got two equations. So when we subtract this equation, that is mass through ABCD minus mass through EFGH. Okay, so in that case your rho u dy dz minus of rho u dy dz plus this one. So this is, what is that? This is your mass of fluid that is leaving the phase. Okay, and this is the mass of fluid that is entering the phase. So mass that is entering minus the mass that is leaving, that gives you the gain of mass in x direction. So the gain of mass in x direction is minus of dou by dou x into rho u dx dy into dz, where dy and dz are constants. So now we have found out only the fluid flow in x direction. Similarly, since it is a three-dimensional, we are going to find out what is the gain in fluid mass in y direction as well as z direction. So here the case is same. So in case of your y direction, it is dou by the same thing equation, but it is respect to y. So minus dou by dou y of rho into v. Why? Because it is v, the velocity in y direction is v, while the velocity in x direction is u and the velocity in z direction is w. Okay, so here we are going to find out only with respect to y direction. So it is minus dou by dou y of rho into v into dx dy dz. So dx dy dz are the three coordinates that is always there for all the three equations, x direction, y direction as well as z direction. Only the change will be there in dou by dou z and rho w. Okay, all other things will be the same. So this is the gain in mass, fluid mass in y direction as well as the gain in fluid mass in z direction. So what is the net gain? So net gain is minus dou by dou x of rho u plus dou by dou y of rho v plus dou by dou z of rho w into dx dy dz. So what is the conservation of mass? Mass is neither created nor destroyed. So this is the mass of the fluid, okay, that is entering, what is it, as well as leaving. That is, we can say that is a net gain of masses. So as per this conservation of mass, this net gain of masses must be equal to that of the rate of increase of the mass of fluid in the element. Okay, so this rate of increase of the mass of the fluid is given by dou p by dou t into dx into dy into dz. Okay, so by equating this equation, so because why we equate this, this is called as the conservation of mass or law of conservation of mass. That is, the rate of increase of mass per unit time will be equal to the rate of increase of mass of fluid in the element. Okay, that's why we are equating the net increase or net gain in the fluid, okay, in all the three directions, that will be equal to that of the rate of increase of the mass of fluid in that element. Okay, so this is the rate of increase of mass of fluid in that element. So when we solve this, what happens here, this dx dy dz will be get cancelled on both the sides. So it is dou by dou x of rho u plus dou by dou y of rho v plus dou by dou z of rho w, and when this comes to this left hand side, it is minus. When this dou p by dou t, when it's moved to this side, it will be like minus of dou p by dou t. Okay, but here already we have one minus and here also we have minus, so we are removing this minus. So the final equation will be dou by dou x of rho u plus dou by dou y of rho v plus dou by dou z of rho w plus dou p by dou t is equal to 0. Okay, so the above equation is the general equation of continuity in three dimensions. Okay, where do we use, what is this applicable for? So this continuity equation is applicable for steady flow and unsteady flow, uniform flow and non-uniform flow, compressible flow and incompressible flow. So we know that general term here. So in case of general, what is steady flow? That is the any flow parameters, any fluid parameters like velocity, pressure or density, if it is not changing with respect to time, okay, then it is said to be a steady flow. Here, so what is the equation here with respect to time? Only we have dou p by dou t. Okay, so all the other things are with respect to space. Okay, so dou p by dou t, if you are cancelling this equation, we will be able to know this is the equation for your steady flow. That is dou by dou x of rho u plus dou by dou y of rho v plus dou by dou z of rho w is equal to 0. Okay, so this continuity equation is applicable for steady flow. Okay, so that is the equation we got here. So if the fluid is incompressible, I already said what is incompressible fluid. In case of incompressible fluid, this rho is constant. Okay, there is not change with it of your density. So since this density is constant here, we are removing this. So only what is the final equation for in case of incompressible flow? Dou u by dou x plus dou v by dou y plus dou w by dou z is equal to 0. Okay, so this is the case if the fluid is incompressible. If it is a two-dimensional flow, okay, two dimensions means only two components will be having, that is in x direction and y direction, and obviously the component in term z direction, that is the velocity is w is equal to 0 in z direction. So what happens is in this equation, this part will also be get removed. Okay, it will be get reduced, so because of two-dimensional flow. So only the final equation will be dou u by dou x plus dou v by dou y is equal to 0. Okay, so this is the continuity equation with respect to that of your two-dimensional flow. Is it clear, guys? So today we have seen what are the different types of flows, like laminar flow, rotational flow and irrotational flow, steady flow and unsteady flow, uniform flow and non-uniform flow, okay, and compressible and incompressible flows. And apart from that, we have derived what the continuity equation for a one-dimensional as well as two-dimensional as well as a three-dimensional flows. Okay, so here in the next class we will be seeing about the other in depth with it of your fluid kinematics. Okay, guys, thank you. We'll see with